Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham blog and to the first Premier League appraisal show. And I see a statement here from Marcelo holding up his Bergwijn jersey. Marcelo, what you have to say?
Listen, bro. I know the hate for Bergwijn is high right now, and I know a lot of people aren't happy with him, including myself. I was very disappointed by him last night, but I just want to say I still support Bergwijn. You know what I mean? What do I think he should start on Sunday? No. Do I think he needs to regain his form? He needs to do better? Yes. But the hate that I'm seeing online, David talked about it. I'm talking about it right now. The hate that people are giving this young man for missing a chance, it's absolutely despicable. Harry Kane, when he first came up, missed chances. You know what I mean? He wasn't the perfect player. But look at him. Through hard work and dedication and backing him, he's the player he is now today. Son, when he first came in, his first 2 seasons, he was known as a player that, was actually not very poor in the final third. You know what I mean? He was a great, got a lot of speed, a lot of pace, but, in the final third, he often struggled. But now look at him now. He's one of the best two-footed players in Europe. So you know what I mean? Like, back Bergwijn. He's 20. He just turned 23. He's been in the club for basically 7 months. You know what I mean? If you really discount, the 4 months of COVID, he's been in the club for really 7 months. You know what I mean? So give the guy a chance. Get back him. Don't slate him. He's a young guy. Don't kill his confidence more than it already is. You know what I mean? He played his heart out last night. It wasn't a lack of effort. The only time I'll ever dig a player out and say that he doesn't deserve to be at the club is if I see a lack of effort and a lack of mentality. And for Bergwijn, back him, guys. Come on, we're not Arsenal.
Can I comment on that, mate?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, look, for me, that's something Arsenal do. Spurs fans, honestly, if you're doing this to your players, you're not supporting the club. I'm all for coming out and saying if you're disappointed in them, I get it. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, rightly so, talk about it, but don't go and private message the guy and tell him how much you hate him, this, that, and the other. Look, it's completely wrong. I hate it. I hate it. And Bergwijn, if you're watching, look, I'm still a massive fan. Do you know what I mean? Look, you do what you can for the club. At the end of the day, I do call you out if I say it's not good, if I think it's not good enough. But at the end of the day, you're one of our own. You're Tottenham Hotspur. And everyone needs to get behind him now. And for all those negative messages he received, let's actually send him some positive messages.
Yeah.
I'm actually really angry at Spurs fans. For me, they're not supporters of the club. Honestly, they're not. They really have upset me. Like even the Winks one. Look, I'm not Winks' biggest fan. Everyone knows that. I make no mistake. I don't hide it. But I don't go and message the guy. There's no need. There's absolutely no need. It's a joke. And look, people owe this guy an apology, in my opinion. Honestly, it's not on.
Yeah, and he, as we see there, he disabled his Instagram comments following abuse received for the misses against Liverpool. And look, we said it last night, and I think I did jump the gun a bit. It was just the emotion speaking after the game when I said it was the final straw for him. I never called him to be sold.
You didn't abuse him, though, Matty. You didn't abuse him. You called out what you've seen from the field. You didn't abuse him.
It was more frustration.
What you see on the field. Yeah. It's when you take it off the field is when it's a problem.
What I saw sometimes in his Instagram was, like, oh, you should die, or you know what I mean, like leave my fucking club, swear words, you know what I mean. Even even some racism, you know what I mean. Like, let's be real here. I saw some of that stuff there. It's despicable. It's despicable.
No footballer should ever be in the position where they feel uncomfortable on social media, or they feel as though they have to limit. That's what Bergwijn has had to do. And look, as David said, you can call him out for what you see on the pitch. If he's not good enough, he's not good enough. We're fans. We're entitled to have our opinion like that. But never in anything, no matter what happens on a football pitch, if one of our players turns into Granit Xhaka and he grabs the player by the throat and costs us a really important game, it should never become personal, because it's not personal. It's professional. It's their job, and you can't for anything that happens on a football pitch within reason. You can't make it personal. It should never happen. The English Yid saying, evening guys, hope everyone is over last night. And yes, Marcelo, welcome to the stream, a channel member. If anyone else is interested in becoming a channel member, hit the join button just below the video. And everything will be explained to you there. Darren Fearon, welcome to the stream, saying, how is abusing Bergwijn helping his confidence? People, if you want to get the best out of him, encourage. And that's exactly.
It's not going to do anything. And speaking of Xhaka, this is exactly how Arsenal are in with the Xhaka situation, because Arsenal fans are deluded, right? They Xhaka, you see him doing all these things on the pitch, cussing the fans, grabbing people by the throat, and they're like, "Oh, he doesn't care for the club. He doesn't care for the club." Well, no shit. He doesn't care about the club. You sent him death threats. You know what I mean? You sent him death threats. You abused his family. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Look, we all call for more interaction with players, right? You're not going to get it by doing this. At the end of the day, right, if you want to abuse someone, abuse me. I can take it. I'm big enough, I can take it, right? But don't be abusing our squad. This is a squad that's going challenging for a Premier League title, and we're still in the Premier League title race, right? This is a squad challenge, and you think abusing this guy it is going to do his confidence any good? Get off his back. Everyone misses chances. Look, I get it. Like we all sit here, right, and we talk about it. But look, we set up our own channels and whatever. We put ourselves in a position. We talk about the game, but we never once abused them. And this is what I can't understand. And like, I want to make one thing clear. Sitting here and talking about a performance is completely different than going and abusing someone in a private message. It's completely different. Let's get that clear here. Because I know people are going to say, "Oh, but you have opinions." At the end of the day, our opinions are based on football. Yeah. Not on anything else.
Exactly. When we talk about Winks and we talk about Davies, when I say like, "Oh, I hate when Winks start," like, I don't hate him as a person. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he does. He's probably like a really nice guy. You know what I mean?
You hate him
as a footballer, I just don't like his playing style. Same with Davies. Just don't enjoy him in my club. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to be going up to like Davies or going to social media, giving him abuse, saying, mean, crude things, threatening his life, threatening his family. Like that is so over the line. It's so despicable. If you're not a fan, if you do that.
And as well, the way I see it, right? Look, I may say here, I may call out Winks for my opinion not being good enough, Davies for not being good enough. At the end of the day, if I see them, I'm still going to run up and try and get an autograph and everything else. Do you know what I mean? But let's just make one thing clear. Like, that abuse is not acceptable. It's not acceptable on any level. We call for more interactions with players and stuff like that. And you're not going to get it by doing this. It's as simple as that. It's a joke. And they're not fans of the club. And look, they should be ashamed of themselves. Honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's welcome Oscar Marrio to the stream from the award-winning All Leeds TV. Oscar, I thought I'd sent answer the link a while ago, the link for this, and it never sent through. Apologies for that, Oscar. How are you getting on?
There's no problem at all, mate. No problem at all. I just saw you go live and think, "Oh, blimey, I should be on this now." Panicking. Max sent me the link and I've not seen it or something. But anyway, no worries at all, mate. No worries. Doing great. Obviously, probably in a much better mood than you guys are at the minute after last night's action.
Yeah. Great win for you guys. 5-2, Newcastle. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, I suppose we could dive straight into it with that one, Oscar. I'm sure there's a lot you have to say in this one. A much better performance from Leeds last night on the back of defeats to Chelsea and West Ham. I know I myself was very critical of that performance against West Ham, but it was much better from Leeds last night from the first whistle. What do you make of the performance?
Everything was better. That was it was just one of those games where I think it's probably a bit of a not a turning point so much because we've still been playing relatively well. I think last two games before this, West Ham and Chelsea were disappointing, but before that, although the results weren't great up until the Chelsea game, we had still been playing pretty well, to be fair, and certainly in periods of games, really well. But in this game, I think we put in a really, I won't say 90-minute performance, because we did go a little bit, when Newcastle made it 2-2, it really was, could have gone either way at that point, because I think Newcastle probably should have had a penalty at 2-2. In fact, definitely should have had a penalty at 2-2, to be fair. And it might have been a different game, but to be fair, last 20 minutes, I just thought we took control, really. We were clinical. The press was a lot better than what it has been recently. I thought we pressed absolutely brilliantly. Massive threat on the counter. Pretty much everything you expect from Leeds into the Elder, and just really dismantled Newcastle in the end. And maybe it wasn't a 5-2 game, but it's still a superb win for us. I think the quality of the goals as well really stood out. Very disappointed with the goals we gave away, though. That's the only thing that concerns me. Although it was a really good performance, we still gave Newcastle 4 or 5 really good chances in the game. So, obviously we've got a massive game coming up for the weekend as well. As a lot of people know, we've got Man United coming up. Not played for 10 years now at Old Trafford. And it's a massive game. So to go into it with a bit more confidence. If we'd have been going into that game after West Ham, I think there'd be no confidence at all going into it. And it could have been quite nasty, but I go into it now and think there's a lot of ways we can hurt Man United, to be honest. But yeah, all round, a lot more positive. I think before the night started, there was even talk of, are we going to get dragged into the relegation scrap? But for me, look, anything could happen in the Premier League, but I do feel confident that we're better than that at the minute. Maybe not top 10, but somewhere in between, somewhere in between that top 10 and just above the relegation zone is where I kind of expect us to finish now.
Yeah. I said in the beginning of the season, I think Leeds, because I mean, Bielsa, he's a great manager, but he's gonna need a couple of players to really get his playing. Like, I know you think you're playing real nice football, but trust me, I seen Bielsa in Argentina. When I was watching Brazil and the Copa America games, and when he has a really good squad, man, I'm telling you, he can do some real magical things. And I think this season, Bielsa's game plan is going to be to get that 15th to 10th spot, around there. Stay in the Premier League, get some money, get some more players. And if he starts getting a little bit more quality, I think, in that team, I think you guys can be, actually pretty good contenders for the top 10 or top 6 around there.
Oscar, I've actually a question for you. Marcelo Bielsa, do you know the way he demands a lot from his players? And this rumor of them tiring out, more or less third of the campaign sort of thing. Do you think that you need to get as many points as you can in the lead up before that kind of starts happening? Because I know it's a thing that many people talk about. Bielsa's teams maybe tiring out come the end of the season.
I think it's it's always been a thing with Bielsa. Like, it's Bielsa burnout, is what the media call it and that lot. But I mean, over the years, there's been a lot of talk about it. But it's something to be honest, I disagree with. To be fair, I do disagree with it. It's because there's not really, David. There's not a lot of kind of evidence behind it. Yeah. I think other than that first season, where, to be fair, we did fall away. Although that was probably for me more down to injuries rather than tiredness. Because to be fair, in a lot, I've never really looked at Leeds other than that Chelsea game and thought, blimey, it looks like we've just kind of overdone it a bit, kind of thing, in the first sort of 60 minutes. But I think last season, obviously we had the wobble around January, February time. There was a lot of talk then about Bielsa burnout. But to be fair, the way we finished the season, I know obviously COVID came in and kind of split the season up. But even before the lockdown, our form, I think it was 5 wins in 5 before lockdown. So I did feel even before then that we were really gathering momentum. But it's an interesting one, really. I mean, even at Bilbao, Marseille, I think Marseille was one where it did kind of fall away towards the end of the season. But Bilbao, to be fair, both seasons, they actually picked up more points in the second half of the season than they did in the first half. But I mean, it's definitely a talking point. I think you've seen it so many times over the years. With even Tottenham under Poch. I did feel there was a time when Leicester won the league. I did think Spurs were going to win it at that point. I thought Spurs were playing that well, and then obviously last couple of games, whether it was down to that, I don't know. Obviously, different factors, isn't there? But I think it would be good to just get as many points on the board as we can at the minute, because I think the better you start, look at Wolves, Leicester, teams that have come up in recent sort of years, and the way they've kind of adapted so quickly to the league, fast starts. That was the big thing with both teams, and it kind of at this stage of the season, talking about Europa League, I don't think we haven't really got the resources for that just yet. I think it's one of them, really. I think the thing is with Leeds at the minute, we're so naturally inconsistent for a new Premier League team in that sense. Against Everton, we probably should have won that game by 4 or 5, to be honest. Being totally honest. And then last night, we were
Arsenal.
You guys,
Arsenal as well. You hit the post like 4 times. I saw that game.
How we did. That was Arsenal's best player on the night, the post, to be fair. It was just how we. I thought I'd get an Arsenal dig in quickly. I thought I'd play to the audience first. That was the.
You go down and treat the channel if you keep doing that.
You're already a regular in the channel, Oscar.
And as well, actually, what do you make of the documentary on Amazon? I'm only after finishing it myself, the Leeds United documentary.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've watched both. I've watched the Spurs documentary as well. They're both different to an extent. The only thing I was a bit disappointed with the Leeds documentary was, the Spurs documentary, it was proper behind the scenes, seeing Marrio speak to his players. I don't understand why that wasn't the case. And Bielsa would never agree to something like that in terms of allowing that kind of access. But I thought, obviously, the only thing I'd say is on the second series, there's a bit too much focus on the COVID part. wanted to see a bit more of the goals that kind of got us there, kind of thing. But it sums it up really well. To be fair, it was an incredible journey. How they condensed it into 2-hour-long episodes, I don't know. Because that's last season was just so up and down, up and down, up and down, and then had a glorious finish. It was, but yeah, no, certainly the first series. Yeah, I think that really, I think from a fan's perspective, it really put across the club quite well.
Yeah, they're more focused on the journey than behind the scenes, like you said. But look, the journey was just as good as the story. You know what I mean? I think I speak on behalf of everyone in the Premier League. Welcome, because it's a team that we've wanted up there for years.
Yeah, I miss Leeds. I miss seeing them in the Premier League. But now I actually have a question for you. You see Wolves. When they came up, I mean, they have a top manager like you yourself. You have a top manager. They've actually built upon that since they came up, and they're kind of looking like a regular stay in the Premier League. Do you think that you can do the same thing that Wolves are doing?
I think the big thing with us at the minute is obviously resources, and not to the same extent. I think obviously Wolves, when they first went up, signed Rui Patricio, Moutinho, Johnny Otto, and Raul Jimenez, of course. And I don't think we've quite got the resources to do that. But to be fair, a lot of our recruitment has kind of been in that kind of mould. Rodrigo Moreno's turned up. I think obviously been a superb signing so far. Certainly expected to add more goals to his game. Rafinha, who was signed on deadline day. I think last night, probably one of his best games so far for us. Mm-hmm. And even Robin Koch, who's come in as a replacement to an extent for our star loan signing last season, Ben White, who's obviously at Brighton at the minute. And you know what? I think we've done really good business up to now. I think obviously those three have been really impressive so far. We've obviously signed Diego Llorente as well. But as typical as it is with Leeds, we've not been able to see them all on the same pitch at the same time. There's either been injuries, one of them's got COVID, one of them's not quite been adapted to the team yet. It's just been all sorts of things that probably won't seem together until May. It's just the way it is. But I think obviously with January coming around the corner, it's hard to say what to do. It's been a big talking point amongst Leeds fans over the last couple of weeks. Obviously going into January, do we really need to get the checkbook out and really, really go for it, in the way Wolves did? Because you look at it, the table at the minute, the way the season's panning out, I think outside of Tottenham, Liverpool, City and Chelsea, I think anyone can be beaten outside that kind of top four, because that's what I expect the top four to be honest. I just think anyone can be beaten on our day. We can beat anyone outside that top four. Not consistently, though. That's the thing. That's what stopped us from really, really rising up that table. If you do it consistently, then you do rise up the table. But the fact is, we don't do it consistently at that moment in time. But I just think, there's still a lot of players in that squad who were the players who came up from the Championship with us. And, a lot of them have developed well, adapted well. And I just think it's got to be a case of just continually adding to the team. I don't think it's one of those things where you can just do 3 or 4 signings in one shot, take 3 or 4 players out of the team, and then just go straight from there. I don't think we're that type of team. Bielsa's not that type of manager. I just don't think it's something we can do. But look, it's been a super impressive start for us, to be fair.
Well, you're only 4 points. You're only 4 points from I think what was it, top 7. You know what I mean? You're not.
It's so congested in the league table this season. It does feel like anything can happen.
You go on the 2-win streak. You don't know. You could be saying, "Oh, we're going to end 15th and 10th." To maybe, you know what I mean. We can be challenging for top 6. You never know, man. You know what I mean. We also can definitely turn it around. Yeah. Do you think Europa League is out of the question?
Yeah. If I've been honest, I think the problem we have is
the honesty.
It's one of those, because we've got obviously Robin Koch out now for 3 months. It was our most aerially dominant centre back, and we've got a massive problem on set pieces. We've conceded as many goals from set pieces. In fact, we've conceded more goals from set pieces than we have from open play, which is beyond, I think, anything we've ever seen in the Premier League before. That's how bad we are in set pieces. And attacking set pieces, I don't think we've scored from a corner or free kick this season so far. I might be wrong on that. The memory might be failing me. So that kind of sums it up. I think from open play, if I'm being honest, if there was no corners or free kicks in football, it was just like a bit like 5-a-side, when you're in like a cage and that lot, we'd be like very tighter contenders at the minute. But the fact of the matter is, it's a massive problem for us set pieces, and that's something we've got to work on. I don't think it's just as simple as just signing a 6'6" centre back and I think it's obviously different bits and pieces we've got to work on, and that's kind of been a big problem for us. I think we're massively susceptible to counter-attacks at the minute because we push both fullbacks so far forward. I've got to say, I'm not looking forward to the Tottenham game. That's probably the game that's kind of our it's kind of our kryptonite, that Tottenham game, because it's you've got Son, Kane obviously feeding Son. That could be a massive problem because there's no way we won't not push both fullbacks forward. We might be exposed a bit like Arsenal in that game, to be honest. We saw a couple of weeks ago, when they pushed Bellerin and Tierney so far forward, and I think Jamie Carragher was battering that approach. That'll be exactly what we do as well. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that Tottenham game, if I'm being honest. Joe says the same on our channel as well. That's the game where I kind of want to get that one just over and done with. But you never know with this Leeds team.
You never know.
But I think Adam Phillip in the comments pretty much summed up my feeling. I think it is going to be somewhere between 9th and 12th for us. I do definitely feel that way. And I just guess it depends a bit on January. But I guess it depends a bit on luck as well, because the other thing I'd say is the depth of our squad's not great. I look at Wolves, Leicester, Southampton to an extent, Everton, other teams that expect to be in that top 10, West Ham even as well. Other teams that kind of expect to be in that top 10 or really pushing for that top 10 and higher. I think they've got a bit more depth than us. When we kind of make substitutions, there's a massive drop-off at the minute. Certainly the injuries I have at the moment. And that is a little bit of an issue. I look at Tottenham's team. You kind of have a Europa League team that you put out for the Europa League, and then you have just a Premier League team. And I wish we could do that as well. I really do. But you never know. A couple more into recruitment, and hopefully we can move back pushing like a Wolves and Leicester, trying to upset that top 6.
Yeah,
I definitely think
5 now, should I say? Because I don't think Arsenal we can class as being in that top 6 anymore.
No.
I love it. Go ahead, David.
As well, about murder ball. The murder ball, I love that. I've seen it in the Leeds documentary, the training they do where it's just non-stop playing football at the highest intensity. Is that something that they do all season long, or does that kind of tail off into the season as the season goes on?
To be honest, David, it carries on the whole season. Especially last season, I think it just got more and more intense as the season went on. After COVID came in, I started. When it went to 3 games a week, and pretty much what it's going to be like for the next few months. With Christmas, New Year, there's a massive fixture congestion, isn't there, coming up? And to be honest, the intensity's been the same throughout. And I think, to be honest, last night it was probably as good as it's been all season in terms of how we pressed them, and we were just so relentless. I've never seen us have so many attacks in a game this season. We were just so. Newcastle didn't get out at times against us. Certainly first half, despite only going in at 1-1, it was a really dominant first half from us. And the tough thing is, obviously it's our first season in the Premier League. It's very different doing this in the Championship to what it is in the Premier League. In the Championship, you can afford to leave loads of space in behind, push your fullbacks forward, and just try and hammer teams that way. In the Premier League, and then even on set pieces as well. Set pieces. You've got Kevin De Bruyne, Trent Alexander-Arnold, players like that whipping balls into the box. It's very different to what you get in the Championship. It's just it's that adaptation for us really. I think this first season will give us a really good taste of what we're going to want to expect in the Premier League as a club, because we're still only a third of the way into the season. Still obviously not our fans at ground yet either. I think our home form, to be fair, we haven't won a home game before last night since the first home game of the season. We've gone on a pretty poor run at home, and that's kind of been our strength under Bielsa, really being made Alamo's a fortress. And I think the lack of fans has massively impacted on us in that sense. So if I'm being honest, I still think we're going to finish around 9th and 12th. Probably still going to see that same murder ball throughout the season. But there will be games where teams pick us off. There will be games where teams pick us off, and there are no illusions. Leicester have done it, Chelsea have done it. But at the same time, like last night, like against Aston Villa, like against Fulham, we can do the same thing again. So I think it's going to be a case of we win one game, we lose one, win one, lose one. I just think it's going to be like that throughout the whole season. And to be fair, Tottenham, your first season under Pochettino, when you kind of got that bit more, the high press and that lot, it took a while to adapt to, if I remember right. You had some really good games. And to be fair, even going into that second season, I think it took a while to get used to it. It's all the same with Klopp at Liverpool, where you won a game 3-0, then lost another game 4-0 to like Stoke or something like that. And it's just the way I think it is, especially a team where we just play on the attack every game. I don't think we're like we'd never do what, say, West Brom did at Man City at the midweek and never got the result from it. We'd never just sit in and just soak up pressure. It's just not in our nature at all to do that. And I'm glad it's not in our nature to do that. We try to win every game, and that's the right way to be for me.
Yeah, it's really interesting hearing you talk about Leeds there because there's so many similarities between Bielsa's Leeds and Pochettino's Tottenham. Like, I know, of course, there is that personal link between Bielsa and Pochettino, but like if we're talking the burnout, the apparent burnout towards the end of the season, the lack of access in the documentary that apparently is one of the key things that led to Pochettino's departure. The tactics, it's really interesting to see kind of the similarities there between
the lack of access led to Poch's departure.
Yeah, we don't see anything.
We don't see a lot of Pochettino, but a couple of years before the documentary was recorded, I don't know if you know Guillem Balaguer. He's like a Spanish football expert. He actually wrote a book about Pochettino's Tottenham. He spent a season in there, and he was given kind of unfettered access to everything. But apparently, as soon as the cameras came into, Pochettino wasn't happy with it. And I think rather than being a reason that he did leave, it was kind of the beginning of the breakdown of his relationship with Daniel Levy. Which did lead to it, which is a bit of a weird one, and I suppose it shows Daniel Levy kind of prioritizing things over footballing matters. But look where we are now. I suppose it has worked out. But which is a big one in terms of the title race and the relegation battle as well, and it is Manchester City's draw against West Brom. City took the lead, and it was an own goal in the end by Ruben Diaz, which got West Brom back into the game. David, it's great news for us that Man City are looking really poor. They're dropping points. A game you'd expect them to win this one. Do you think they're even in the title race this season?
No, they're out of the title race for me, Matty. To be honest with you, like the ways you heard Sir Alex Ferguson talk about in the past. Every team has their cycle. This is the end of the cycle for that City team. Yeah. And look, it's an interesting position because look, I was thinking about this, right? Guardiola signed a new contract, and I know he did. But to me, in my opinion, I think that was just to kind of make the players give it all there this season, rather than kind of just slugging through the season. He'd be gone at the end of the season. I still think personally he will be gone at the end of the season because, look, I don't think they'll get away with the investment that he needs for that squad, honestly. And I can't see him staying. Look, for me, it's the end of a cycle, and I really don't think they are in a tight race.
Marcelo, I think the Champions League is a big thing for Manchester City at the moment. It's a big thing for Guardiola.
I think he has 2 seasons. I don't think he's going to get sacked. Because I think with the deal with Messi right now, I think if there's anyone that's going to get Messi on a free, it's Pep Guardiola, really. You know what I mean? It's Manchester City.
I'm not saying he's going to get sacked, Marcelo. I reckon he'll walk in the summer. I reckon he'll leave in the summer.
I don't think he will. I think he's going to stay. I think he wants to prove himself in the Premier League because that's a big criticism from Pep that he can't build a team. Yeah, but I mean, like I just think he's going to stay. I think he's going to stay at City, and I think he's going to try to build a team. I think next summer, I think he's going to try to go for Messi. I do really think that. But as far as them being title challengers, from what I've seen for most of this season, is that they only have one half in them. I watched the Leeds game. First half, they looked incredible against Leeds. You know what I mean? They were really pushing Leeds. But then the second half, I felt like you guys should have had 3 goals. I mean, Ederson was brilliant. You know what I mean? You guys were creating so many chances, suffocating them. It seems like almost like their players kind of gave up in some ways, like kind of were wilting to your pressure. And I just feel like with the City, like, and even against us, the first half against us, right? City were creating some decent chances. We're getting in the box. But then second half, they weren't creating nothing. You know what I mean? Like their crosses were just being headed out. Their players just looked sold. I just think like some of those players, like I don't know, like with De Bruyne, I just see him like slowing down a little bit. I see some of these other players just slowing down. I don't think they can keep up with that same intensity. And I think losing, guys like Company. What was it? Silva. David Silva was massive.
That was a big one. David Silva. They did not even come close to replacing really. If you look at it, they've kind of put all their eggs in the Phil Foden basket, and I do like Phil Foden, but it doesn't look like Pep trusts him in the middle of the park. Really, he always puts him out on the wing. I don't think it's the best position at all. It doesn't look suited at all there for me.
No, he doesn't. And then also like with Fernandinho, I feel like those guys were just such Pep type players that he needs to like kind of just. I think he just needs another summer really to just figure it out a replacement for those guys because I don't think Foden, I don't think some of these guys are the replacement.
Yeah, Duff here saying some pro-Liverpool and anti-City bias. Robertson has more touches in the opposition box than Gabriel Jesus this season. I love the way he's added in apparently there at the end just to cover himself. If it isn't true, thanks for tuning in, Duff. It's been a big concern for Man City, Oscar, the injury suffered by Sergio Aguero. You know, he missed a lot of the early stages of the season, came back, I think, for a game or two, and he is out on the sideline again. And I think Gabriel Jesus just hasn't really stepped up to the plate, and at the end of the day, it's strange to say, but City are struggling in front of goal. How big do you think the absence of Sergio Aguero could be for them in terms of the season ahead?
I think it's massive. You know, I watched City's first game of the season. I think it was Wolves away. I think that was their first game, and I watched them and thought, wow, that's City kind of back to the levels they were at 2 years ago. Ever since then, though, I've not really watched a City game. I've watched 3 or 4 games, and they've not looked the same team at all. I think certainly for the game against you guys, you know, they ran out of ideas. You know, they started okay in that game, but as soon as, you know, Dembele finds Son over the top, City just lost it. City completely lost it. I've never seen De Bruyne give the ball away so much. You know, you don't expect that from Kevin De Bruyne. And I think the big thing with Aguero is it's just that presence in the box. You know, his movement's always going to be fantastic. De Bruyne can put a ball in the box. Sterling can make a run. Aguero is kind of that focal point of the attack. I think Jesus is an interesting one. You know, it's some weeks he can look fantastic. Other weeks, you know, that goal scored against Liverpool, you know, he just completely turned. I think it was Joe Gomez, inside and out, and actually got Tottenham. Because if they'd have lost that game against Liverpool, that City would have been completely gone. Completely gone. And I think, to be fair, David's pretty much right. Unless they do something big in January, you know, i.e. sign Haaland, which I can't see happening, to be honest. I can't see Haaland moving in January. But they've got to make a signing of that kind of stature, either a number 10, Haaland, you know, or even a left back. I think they've got a big problem. You know, Mendy against us, to be fair, looked really good going forward. Defensively, had a terrible game. Probably one of the worst games I think I've seen a left back have against us this season. Even Vader was turning him inside and out. Costa was turning him inside and out. And, you know, they looked really like they were struggling on that side of the pitch. Obviously, the centre backs. I've got to say, I think John Stones has been much better this season from what I've seen of him. Laporte, to be fair, I've been a bit surprised by. He's kind of not been at the levels before. Because you kind of saw Diaz come in and you thought, Diaz and Laporte, that should be, especially with Liverpool having Van Dijk missing, Tottenham having obviously Alderweireld missing for a period, and not getting that, you know, that centre back in the summer to go alongside Alderweireld, albeit Eric Dyer obviously stood up massively this season. You kind of looked at that City defence and thought, okay, that looks pretty good that now. But ever since then, they've not really got everything together. You know, some weeks they've been really good going forward and then horrendous at the back, or they've been absolutely solid at the back and then clueless going forward. It's just not like a Pep team at all. And, you know, it's one of those, you look at it in the summer, but I've got to agree with Marcelo. You know, for me, Pep will leave if he wins the Champions League this season. You know, I think if he wins the Champions League, I think he'll just call it a day. Because I think the thing is with Pep Guardiola, obviously watches his Barcelona team pretty extensively, his Bayern Munich team a little bit less so, but he doesn't hang about kind of thing. Not like, say, Arsene Wenger or Mourinho at Chelsea, for example. When the cycle's done, as David was talking about, Guardiola leaves. He doesn't try and restart the cycle because it's very. The thing is with Pep Guardiola, and I can't really go into how I know about this, but I do know someone who worked quite closely with the players. I can't really explain, not as a coach or anything, but kind of outside of the club, outside of training, more off the pitch. To an extent.
More of a liaison sort of thing.
But he's so intense. That's the thing with Pep Guardiola. And I think after a while, after 2 or 3 seasons, I think the players just get a bit bored. Because you look at people like Sterling. Sterling at Liverpool is a completely different player to what he's at City. Obviously, under Pep, he's become a much more productive player. But sometimes you look at Sterling and think, he wants to just take on his fullback there. But under Pep Guardiola, it's so. I love the football they play, don't get me wrong, but it's so robotic that Sterling has it kind of like in his mind. He's always got to find his left back. He's always got to just play the ball and make a run. There's no real kind of like, you know, I look at it compared to Tottenham, you know, obviously Son and Kane. I don't see that individual flair to the City. I don't think Guardiola allows it. I think he's using the system more than the individual players themselves. And I think that's starting to really. I look at De Bruyne a little bit as well this season. Still playing really well, but sometimes you're looking in that Tottenham game and thinking, the body language doesn't look quite good at City. It's not looked right since that Leicester game, to be honest, when they lost 5-2.
It's just not the same intensity, right? Like you
No,
remember
not at all.
that one that City game that had that 100 points. It's like the thing
Mm.
about City is they've always been robotic. It's always been pass it around, touch one touch football, go. But the thing is, they used to just do it at such a fast pace, such a high intensity and a high press that like teams couldn't even like hold it for like 30 minutes. They could just tire out a team after 30 minutes and just absolutely destroy them. I mean, I remember in that Champions League game, against them, like with the crazy, the VAR decision and everything like that. I mean, I just remember looking at our players in like 30 minutes, and I just see like Toby, Trippier, like Rose and like all those guys just heavily breathing like after 30 minutes. Like it's almost like they were getting suffocated, and that's what his teams used to do. But that requires so much intensity and so much pace that like it's like you said. I just feel like they just can't handle it anymore. They just don't have it in them.
Well, as well for me, look, not replacing David Silva or going and replacing Aguero properly has really cost them this year. It really has. And then you look at the players around them, Mahrez, Sterling, even Bernardo Silva, they're just not hitting the same heights. To me, look, like I said, I just looking at it from the outside, it looks like that the cycle's done. The players might be a bit fed up with the manager might be a bit fed up with the players. And it's an end of a cycle. And the thing is, with the financial fair play, they were already under the spotlight for it. So they can't really just go and spend massive money again.
Yeah.
I mean, look at their midfields 2 years ago when they won the 100 points, or 3 years ago, whatever it was. Fernandinho, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva. Look at it what it was on Tuesday night. Rodri, Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne. It's not don't get me wrong, Rodri and Gundogan are not bad players, but if you're Tottenham facing that City team, it's not, when you're facing De Bruyne, Silva, Fernandinho, and you're thinking, how are we going to get the ball? How on earth are we going to get the ball off that midfield? Look now, and I think it's not the same, is it? It's not got the same wow factor. It is all on De Bruyne at the minute in that midfield and the whole attack, to be honest.
Yeah, and as well, Piyush is saying here, problem with Pep is he can only succeed if his team is best in the league. With any other team at their level, he will lose. Happened with Jose in Madrid and Klopp in Liverpool. I'm not sure that happened in Germany. There's no really team who's up around there nearby Munich in Germany. Now, one thing that has been announced tonight, something that will be of great interest to Spurs fans, is that Heung-min Son has won the Puskas Award for his solo goal against Burnley last season.
Yes.
It was a fantastic goal. It was an absolutely sensational goal. Marcelo, you have a jersey for everything, Marcelo. There's always one in there.
You must have no wages left at the end of the week, man.
I think Son's goal was the goal of the Premier League decade or something last year as well. So it's definitely one that's getting the appreciation it deserves from opposition fans as well. But I think that's a decent segue to get into the disappointment of last night. Look, we've said a lot about this. It was, I think, I've said a lot. I've said it on Twitter that I think Tottenham were the better team last night. I think we deserved to win the game. Liverpool had more possession, they had more touches in the opposition third, they had more everything, obviously, including goals. But Tottenham, we had such good chances. We played well. The game went how we wanted it to go. We were going to park our, I wouldn't say park the bus because we were a bit more offensive last night than we have been in recent weeks. We were going to allow Liverpool to have possession. We weren't going to try and keep possession in their half. When we went forward to score and nothing else. Mourinho, I think if you give him the chance before the game, for the game to have played out the way it did, bar of course those 3 big moments, I think he would have gone for a game of that ilk. And it's disappointing for us that we're now sitting here at 3 points off the top of the table. First of all, Oscar, I want to get your unbiased opinion on this one. Now, I know you're probably screaming during the game.
Yeah, I would say the opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree. I don't think it was a game that Liverpool could look back on and say they genuinely deserved to win. I just think it was typical Liverpool for what they've shown with the Klopp. I think they get called the mentality monsters. They found a way to win, but I don't think if Mourinho watched that back, I don't think he'll really say to the players they could have done anything much different. I think it did play out, as you say, mate, pretty much how we would have planned. The only thing I would say is maybe he would have said on that second goal, maybe they could have picked up with Firmino a bit better on that. It was a good goal, to be fair. But obviously you look at the chances created in that second half, especially. I think that second half at 1-1, I did feel like Tottenham were the only team that was going to win it at that point. Obviously, Son and Kane, to be fair, obviously I know Salah, Mane, etc. Firmino have been fantastic over the last couple of seasons, but this season, there's no doubt about it, Son and Kane have categorically been more effective than that front three. So you kind of looked at it from that point of view. There was so much flair on that Tottenham, on the pitch for Tottenham. And it's one of those you look at, and I still think you'll bounce back from it. I wouldn't worry about that too much. Could Liverpool drop points? It's just a case of, obviously the Palace game would probably be what cost you more than that Liverpool game. Not winning that Palace, not seeing that game out, or grabbing that late winner. That would probably be what cost you more than the Liverpool game. So I think, to be fair, throughout the season, you pretty much, obviously, that Chelsea game, you got the point there. You tended to beat all the lesser teams, haven't you, so far? And that's, there's a lot of talk about you've got to beat the top six, you've got to be competitive in the big games. And that's a fair point. But you've already beaten City, you've already beaten Man United, etc., etc. You picked up a lot of points against those teams. It's just that dropped points against Palace, that dropped points against Newcastle, right at the start of the season, obviously going all the way back in Everton. That's the only thing I'd be a bit concerned about. I certainly look at Tottenham and think when you play Liverpool in with the reverse fixture, I think you'll definitely give them a game again. Absolutely no doubt about it. And look, on another night, obviously Bergwijn. I heard you obviously talking about Bergwijn at the start, and what a shame that is. What's happened there, and unfortunately, it's just a thing of all football fans at the moment. It's not a Tottenham thing at all. Obviously online abuse. It's not called for really, but obviously look at it, Bergwijn. A player a little bit out of form at the minute. If Son had maybe been running onto those chances, I think Tottenham definitely get something. It's just unlucky. Sometimes you can just be unlucky in football. I say it about Leeds sometimes. You can just have one of those nights. And I think it was really. You look at it and think I look at it and say compared to how you played in the big games under Poch. Say that game against City. What was it, 3-4 weeks ago? There's no way under Poch Spurs would have been able to produce a performance at that level against a team at that level. Or even at Arsenal games to an extent. I think obviously, I don't think Poch's record in the North London derbies was particularly great. I don't think. I think, am I right in saying that? I might be totally wrong there.
He lost a few. It
was usually we win one, we'll lose one. There'll be a draw here and there. It was very mixed bag. That's
the thing. I think in the big games, I certainly think Mourinho's getting a better tune out of maybe it's not as good to watch. That could certainly be someone that's leveled that in, but I think results-wise, I definitely feel that way. And I just look at it and think, when you're producing good performances in the big games, then you can win the trophies. That's the big thing, I think, for Tottenham this season. Maybe not so much the Premier League title, but Europa League, FA Cup, League Cup. I, hand on heart, do think you're going to win one of those trophies. I can't see how you don't, to be honest. I don't see. It's Marrio. He's just a master of winning trophies. In his first full season, he's done it everywhere he's been. He's got the right structure there. Son and Kane can win your games. They're exactly what you want in a final. Son, for me, if you were doing the Player of the Year award tomorrow, would win it hands down. To be honest, I think he's been what just a superb footballer to watch. I've got to say that. In terms of outside of Leeds, he's probably the player I enjoy watching the most. There's a lot to be happy about the Tottenham. Liverpool might have won the battle, but it doesn't necessarily mean they'll win the war. It doesn't necessarily mean that at all. It's still a long way to go. The big thing is Christmas. They can't rotate. Joss is out for a couple of months. They can't rotate. So are they going to be able to? And you look at Spurs. Obviously got Bale, Lucas Moura, Gareth Bale. You can rotate that front three a little bit. Obviously, the Celso, Winks. You can rotate the midfield, centre backs, Rodon, Ben Davis, etc., Aurier, Doherty. You can rotate the back four. So it wouldn't surprise me if Spurs make up the gap pretty quickly. It really wouldn't surprise me. I certainly think that's been the game was between the two outstanding teams of the league so far this season.
Look,
please don't let Chelsea win it though. Just please, because we've got a thing against Frank Lampard. Just please, guys. Just make sure Lampard doesn't win the title. Just please, because that would just be unbearable. And that's off Joe as well, off our channel, because if Lampard wins the league, Joe will not be able to show his face at the start of the season.
Well, to be fair, Leeds has had more better results against the top 10 than Chelsea, so I wouldn't be too worried about Lampard. So, you know what I mean? And I wish Tottenham fans would share the same optimism you have right now. You know what I mean? Because I saw us lose to Liverpool.
Surely.
Yeah, and I see people after we lose to Liverpool, act like the season is over. It's completely embarrassing. But David, you wanted to have a point? I'm sorry about that.
No, you're all right. No, I was just going to say, look, we've the same problems as Oscar does with Leeds, set pieces again. You know, they tend to let us down time and time again. And I do think, like, I was thinking about the set piece thing, and I think because they're focused so much when the ball is in play, you know, and it's mentally draining. I think when we do concede a set piece, they think, oh, we can switch off for a minute, relax for a minute, and that's where we get caught. And look, at this level, it's just not good enough. It's undone us time and time again this season. It's something that we do need to improve on. But look, I'm as optimistic as Marcelo, Matty, and even Oscar there. It's great to see it. That look, we're not out of this title race. We're only 3 points behind. Anything can happen. Liverpool, like Oscar was saying, they can't rotate the players. You know, their players are going to gas out. They're going to burn out. And look, as much as I wasn't angry last night. I was just disappointed. I was just really disappointed because anytime you get up for these big games with Tottenham, they always kind of seem to let you down. But over the course of the season, you have to remember we've played United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, City. And we're the sixth team in the top 6. We've already played the top 5 within 12, 13 games of the season. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, after this now, it's not going to be plain sailing, but we should be beating the rest of the teams. No offence. We should be beating the rest of the teams. So, by Christmas, we could already, or by the time the first round of the games finish at the end of in January, the first round of games, the first 18, 19 games, we could well be back on top by 6 points. So I don't understand why some of these Spurs players are acting like the season's over. You know, we're in a quarter-final of a League Cup. We're as far as we can be in the Europa League. We're in the knockout groups. What more do they want? They just have to remember to this time last year where we were. The major improvements, you know?
Yeah,
it's unfortunate in the Tottenham fan base. There just always seems to be that kind of group of fans that will manage to find the negative side of things. Yeah. You know, we of course Pochettino, who again, like he wasn't perfect. He made mistakes, but people are saying in hindsight, you know, he deserved to go because he started Kane in the Champions League final. They're always going to find something to pick out for anything to do with Tottenham to be criticised. And look, if you'd been offered at the start of the season to be 3 points off the top of the table going into the week of Christmas, any Spurs fan would have bitten your hand off for that. Yeah. And I know context is very important. When we've been there for the last month, it is a bit disappointing. But I often said with regards to the Pochettino era at Spurs, people are saying, oh, it wasn't good enough because he never won a trophy. But the way I look at it is, of course, we should have won a trophy. It would have been a lot better if we did win a trophy. But in a sense of progress, he took over a team that had, like, you know, a back four like Kyle Naughton, Stephen Cocker, Yunus Kabul. It was a really, really poor team, and he took that over, a team that were happy to scrape into the Europa League. And the very fact that people 4 or 5 years later were talking about trophies as the one thing that we were lacking, I think is a sign of the progress that we did make under Mauricio Pochettino. And now we're in a similar situation with Jose Mourinho, that the fact that Liverpool are celebrating this win as if it's the biggest win in their history, you know, people are laughing at us because we're not first. Again, he came in when we were 14th in the Premier League. Yeah. And I know it was, of course, a very congested table when he did come in, and 2-3 wins brought us up to 5th. But it's just a sign of the progress and how far we've come in the last year, that the thing now that we're upset about is not being top of the Premier League table. It's absolutely crazy. You know, I said it on your channel before, David, before this season, in my lifetime, Tottenham have been top of the table for a combined total of 13 minutes. So the fact that we've been there for a month now, I think says a lot about how far we've come.
And for me, Matty, I think Pochettino laid the foundation, and now Mourinho's there to take it on. Did you get me? But Pochettino brought us, like you said, from Europa League kind of candidates to top 4 Champions League football team. Look, I know in his last it didn't work out last season, but that's one season. Do you know what I mean? But now Mourinho's here to take on what the foundations that Poch has built. Mourinho's here to take it on now and give us the cups we want.
Yeah, I have a question for Oscar though. Like I know, like, you know, right now being a Leeds fan has been, you know, very good, but, you know, recently in the past, you know, you guys had your struggles and stuff like that. How has your fan base, you know, reacted, you know, to that, you know, that past and, you know, going down and stuff like that? Like, do you see similarities between Tottenham and, you know, sometimes your fan base, or are you guys more positive, would you say?
Oh, no, definitely similarities. I mean, after the West Ham game, I saw all sorts, you know, it's like I had to log off of Twitter, to be honest, for like a couple of days. I kind of considered deactivating at times last season when I saw some of the reactions. I was like thinking, oh my word. And sometimes when we read our, you know, when we kind of do a live stream that, like, watch along the games, and think, cheer up, guys, come on, cheer up, we're in the Premier League, kind of thing, you know. I can imagine, you know, I think when it's a bit like, obviously Bielsa took over Leeds, and they're not the same situation as Tottenham, but as what Poch took you over in terms of you weren't where you want to be. Like Leeds, we weren't where we want to be, like mid-table and Championship. And when you get used to like 2 or 3 seasons of just being better, you kind of the expectation levels rise a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Tottenham and I think, obviously the big thing was the trophy. And I know the critics of Pochettino will always point to that and say he wasn't a great manager because he didn't win a trophy. But the fact of the matter is, I'd love being a bit different. Harry Kane, as Matt said, had Harry Kane been fully fit in that Champions League final, maybe it could have been different. I remember how many semi-finals you got to. You can't be a poor team if you get into the semi-finals of the FA Cup, Champions League, finals of the Champions League, even get to second in the Premier League. Before you obviously moved out of the old White Hart Lane, etc. It was superb to watch. I watched it as a neutral before Bielsa came in, and to be honest, I was watching it, looking at what Poch was doing, and thinking, I was jealous, to be honest. I was looking at what he's doing. Yeah. Obviously, he had Dele Alli full of form, Christian Eriksen at his peak. Obviously Son and Kane were still there. Dembele, Moussa Dembele, what a player he was. And I'm watching him thinking, it's a matter of time till he win the trophy. But the other thing as well I'd have to say about Poch, remember that you guys might disagree with me, but I thought he was a bit let down, to be honest. I thought he was a bit let down. I think he got Tottenham before obviously moved that White Hart Lane, where you were literally just a signing, 2 signings most maybe away from winning a title or easily winning a title, to be honest, because that was before Pep really got City going, before Klopp really got Liverpool going. I think that was where the opportunity was really there. I think that season when he lost out to Chelsea was where I thought, wow, that's one of the best teams to have not won the title in recent years for me. And it just didn't quite get to that same level afterwards. And obviously Eriksen got a couple of years older, kind of didn't want to be there towards the end. And it was I just thought he was really unlucky, And I'll tell you something, if City do get rid of Guardiola or Guardiola goes the other way round, he will get that City job for me. I do feel pretty confident on that. I do feel like he is going to end up there. And it'll be interesting from that point of view. You've got a lot of Marrio against Poch again, all that kind of element to it. But
it'll be interesting.
The thing I will say is that, and I don't want to sound, and I think a lot of Spurs fans I've spoken to in the past have kind of agreed with me here, Mourinho is still quite a short-term appointment for me. I think you see it at every club. If you can call 3 years short-term, but it's not something like, it's not going to be a 7 or 8 year plan, this kind of thing. And I think all Tottenham fans are accepting that, because if you win trophies at the end of it, if you get past that final hurdle, you win a Premier League title, Kane goes on to break the Premier League goal-scoring records, etc., all these kind of things. I think you'd accept that. I just think I've seen a couple of, I follow quite a lot of good Tottenham Twitter accounts, to be fair, that analyse it and say that City game, that Arsenal game, etc. I think only after a while, I think players might start to switch off when you're kind of sitting in. But at the minute, it's super effective. It's winning your games, winning a lot more games than it's losing. Yeah, last night might make things look a little bit different, but over the weekend, Liverpool's got to go to Palace. Both is Zaha. You dropped points at Palace at the weekend, last weekend. There's no reason why Liverpool can't.
Yeah. Matty, I've actually a question for you. Do you think the fan base, the Spurs fan base, was more united under Pochettino than what it is under Mourinho right now?
At the beginning of it, for the very good part, I think it was. But what I would say is when the divisions did kind of start to creep in, I think it was a lot more toxic when it was happening under Pochettino than it is now, because at least now we are still to some extent seeing results, and the fans who are saying they're unhappy with Jose Mourinho's style of football. It's kind of very easy to say to them, well, look how it worked for other teams, and look where we are in the Premier League table now. But towards the end of that Pochettino era, and I think we always need to say it happened before that Champions League final. It was the January or February before that Champions League final when things really started to go wrong on the pitch for us. But it was all domestically in the Champions League final, kind of glossed over what was actually going wrong on the pitch. But when things going into the start of last season, when things kind of started to go wrong, we heard Kieran Trippier talking out about his move to Atletico Madrid, and he said it was because of the toxicity in the dressing room. I think then it gave a reason for those Spurs fans who had kind of been nibbling away at Poch for about a year or so, saying we do need that trophy, and of course we have to bring in the disappointment and the mental effect it's going to have losing a Champions League final. So I think one of the main things with that was there did seem to be a bit of toxicity within the dressing room, but it was such an immediate split in the Spurs fan base, especially with what happened there in Kane and, of course, losing that Champions League final. Those fans who were kind of on the edge thinking, well, is Pochettino the right man? Is he not long term? Immediately, they all broke off into their own group, and it was just so toxic. And now I know there are a lot of fans who, like we had it in our stream last night, kind of saying, Mourinho cost us the game last night. You're not going to win a title playing defensive football. And I think, look, they have a point. Of course, we lost the game last night. We can't deny that. But it's just worked for Mourinho in the past. And I think even those fans who are kind of getting critical like this, I think in the back of their heads, they are thinking, you know what, this could maybe work because it had worked in the past. And I hope that is the case. And obviously, I hope it does work. It
just seems for me at times, Matty, that they're waiting for us to lose a game just so they can get on Mourinho's back and the players back at times, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a couple of people in the group chat because I'm in, like I said, I'm in a lot of Spurs group chat, and they're saying, oh yeah, look at that, Mourinho's terrorist football style isn't working anymore, is it? And it's like they're almost waiting for it to fail, and they start criticizing it, and I'm like, well, hold on a second, why weren't you criticizing it during West Brom, Burnley, City, Arsenal, Southampton, like etc. You know what I mean? Like during the Europa games when we won, those games. Why weren't you criticizing it then? You know what I mean? United. Where was that criticism? It's like almost like they come out of nowhere, like these Mourinho haters.
Yeah.
It's like they're just waiting. It's
Is it the Chelsea element now? Is it the Chelsea element that's quite difficult to get? Obviously, obviously that must be a little bit. Obviously when initially got, I think obviously the results have helped matters, but the only thing I would say is I think you've got to find another goal scorer aside from Kane and Son. That's the only thing I worry a little bit about Tottenham. In terms of that right hand side, can they get another source of goals? But I think there's enough in that squad. I think there's enough in that squad for someone else to step up as well. I guess that's just going to be something over the season. That's the only thing I would say that makes me think Tottenham might just fall away, but I don't think they will, to be honest. I think Kane and Son are in that good form. Keep them fully fit. There's no doubt about it for me that Spurs will be in and around there at the end of the season. There's no doubt about it. Well, look at his Chelsea team. Did he ever really have a combination as good as Kane and Son ever in that Chelsea team? I don't think he did, to be honest.
I think there's a stat that I love. Drogba and Lampard they're statistically the most clinical duo in Premier League history. They combined for 36 goals throughout their time at Chelsea, but Kane and Son are second in that. They've combined for 32, and I think it's 13 of those, 12 or 13 of those have come this season. I think it would just be so great if it was Jose Mourinho to kind of help Kane and Son knock Drogba and Lampard off their perch in that one. But look, we're coming up to an hour now. I think we should wrap it up there. Thank you to everyone who has watched. Thank you very much to Oscar making his debut on the channel. I think from his input tonight, we can see why All Leeds TV are an award-winning channel. Oscar, absolutely exceptional insight.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Great guest. Thank you, Oscar.
David and Marcelo, as always, thank you very much for joining us. Channel regulars at this stage. We know everyone in the live chat loves you. And as well, look, everyone who has watched, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you are new, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button, and I'll throw down links for Oscar's channel and David's channels in a minute. Look, I know Oscar is a Leeds channel, but I absolutely love it over there. You'll find me in the live chat for all those watch-alongs. Make sure to go over and check them out. And look, as always, thanks for watching.